Pizza mare, mamma mia, mamma di dare.
Salve, sweet cheeks. Buongiorno, buttheads. Piacere, little fairies. Hey, I'm Kelsey Love. Welcome back to Travelin Fools. Today we're here to talk about potentially the most badass thing we've ever done in life, which is buy our very first property, a 2-bedroom condo on the coast of Italy. We're finalizing all the paperwork right now, and we'll officially sign the deed, chug an undetermined amount of celebratory wine, and move in next week. Now, I know you have a lot of questions. How much did it cost? Is it butt ugly? How many feet pics did we have to sell on the dark and/or light web in order to afford it? How hot is the average real estate agent in Italy? Don't you get your little Speedo in a bunch, buddy? I'll answer all of that in good time. For now, what I'd like to talk about is how we got here, meaning how we ultimately chose a location in Italy to buy a property, which is a huge decision in its own right, but also what the process of searching for a property in southern Italy is like, and why we're ultimately buying a condo we haven't actually seen with our own 4 eyeballs, in a town we've only spent a minimal amount of time in a country we're not legally allowed to live in for more than 90 days at a time. First, let's start with the fun stuff. Location. Our original plan, as you may or may not recall, was to buy a property in the region of Puglia. We have a whole video about this, which you could and should and can and shan watch, but the basics come down to this. Although Puglia rules and is still one of our favorite regions in Italy, the likelihood of us needing a car kept becoming more and more real. And while yes, we as US citizens can legally own a property in Italy, we weirdly enough cannot legally own a vehicle in Italy. There will be no tears shed over this though, because any reason to uninvite more paperwork and more types of insurance into our lives is a win. Primarily because of that, we decided to open up our search to other, more walkable regions of Italy that still fit within our original search criteria, which you can reference in the previous video. Now, while I personally love Liguria, an area in the north of Italy, it became pretty clear pretty quickly that the only thing we could afford up there was a dank-ass basement up a very steep hill. Pass. During our property search on Idealista, one region, but also one town, kept popping up over and over again. The region of Calabria, and the town of Scalea. So, what's up with Scalea? Why out of everywhere in Italy is that the place we're buying property? Reason number 1, it's located directly on a train line. In 2.5 hours, we can be in the center of Naples. In 3 hours, we can be on the Amalfi Coast or in Rome. And in 4 hours, we can be in Puglia or on the east coast of Sicily. We're a 1-hour train ride from a small international airport in the town of Lamezia Terme, where there are inexpensive direct flights to Albania and the UK when our 90 days are up and we need to exit the Schengen area, or Spain, Switzerland, and Poland when we don't. For longer international journeys, we'll probably take a train up to Naples or Rome and fly from there. Reason number 2, Scalea is located directly on the Tyrrhenian Sea. Since Peter basically lives his life as a merman, and my favorite form of travel is by float, preferably on a sea that's calmer than a monk on tranquilizers, this bodes well for us, and was absolutely a prime consideration in our search for the perfect property. While most of the places we could afford in Puglia were not within walking distance of the sea, in Calabria, almost all of the train lines are conveniently located along the coastline, where there are many small and medium-sized towns worthy of spending your time. Reason number 3, Scalea is a small town during every season except summer, but not so small that it ever fully shuts down. There's a population of about 12,000 year-round residents, but in the summer, this apparently gets up to around 300,000. As a human who happens to like other humans, but also sometimes not so much, I kind of like the mixture of peace and pandemonium. There are at least 3 supermarkets in Scalea, plus a lot of other specialty shops, and while sure, almost every business does indeed close down for its daily siesta from about 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Maybe later. It never fully feels like a ghost town, even in the sleepiest months of November and February. Now, we've heard horror stories about the crowds, the prices, and the traffic in Scalea in August, when everyone in Italy decides they've had enough of the hideous act of working, and all takes their holidays at the same exact time. And also when everyone from Naples comes to share their truly terrifying driving skills with Calabria. But also, what's the fun of living on a beach in Italy if it doesn't occasionally get overrun with Italians who like the beach? I don't want to live in that world. And I don't have to. In fact, we will be spending August in Scalea this year, so I'll be sure to report back on whether it's incredible or incredibly annoying. Reason number 4. While Scalea literally translates to ladder or stair because of the historical city center being located on a terraced hill, including a lot of stairs, thankfully the modern part of town, including where we bought a property, is flat, and therefore a wonderful place to walk and roam without wanting to die a swift, sweaty, and out-of-shape death. Reason number 5. Scalea has a very temperate climate and rarely gets below 40 degrees or above 90, or below 4 degrees and above 32 if, like almost all of the world, you are a user of the Celsius. The town is backed by lush mountain ranges, gorges, waterfalls, and rivers where you can ski and snowboard in winter and hike, go canyoning, and river rafting in summer. And the beaches have a lovely combination of turquoise water, cliffs, caves, and dark sand and rocks, with a couple of islands within kayaking distance. The summers are humid and hot, the winters are wet and windy. We've seen people happily frolicking in the sea in the middle of November. Compared to other areas of Italy, the province of Cosenza has a relatively mild risk of being destroyed by a volcano and/or molten hot lava, although fires, floods, and tsunamis are never really off the table these days. If you're still actively in denial about climate change, be sure to yell that at the waterspout as it yanks you off the deck of your yacht. Moving on. What about the property search process? How did that go? In a word, chaotic. In multiple words, chaotic and busy as crap, yet ultimately successful. During 2 separate visits to Scalea, over a grand total of 11 days, we managed to see 36 properties with the help of at least 10 different agents. 1 was an auction property set up through an auction agent at the time, 2 were for sale directly through the owners, and the other 33 viewings were set up through real estate agents. We primarily started with properties we found on Idealista, but after meeting the agents in person and explaining our search criteria and budget, they would usually take us to see several others that were either only listed on their individual agency websites or not listed at all. In fact, the property we're buying was never listed online. Because we looked at so many properties in such a short amount of time, by the end of our search, I could tell you within the first 15 seconds if the place was a top contender or not. We seriously considered 3 of the 36 properties, but when it came down to it, the location and amenities ended up being the deciding factors. For example, we viewed a very modern 2-bedroom condo with a killer view in a neighborhood called The Bridge, about 10 minutes north of Scalea, but at the very least we would have needed a scooter to get anywhere at all, including the beach, restaurants, or the train. We also really liked a couple of top floor units in the center of Scalea, but both of them needed new flooring, semi-major bathroom renovations, and one of them was up 80-plus stairs with no elevator. We don't have anything against stairs, but when our parents come to visit or renting it out when we're not in the country, these are factors worth considering. My advice is not to be loyal to any specific real estate agency or agent. Pick one who you feel comfortable with, who preferably has good reviews and definitely experienced selling property to foreigners, and most importantly, who speaks your language if you are not in fact fluent in Italian. While we are both in the process of learning Italian, we are by no means fluent, and so it helps to get clarity on the details of the deal as you work through contracts, paperwork, taxes, utilities transfers, and all the various things that come up when you buy property, without solely relying on Google Translate. I can't speak to what it's like in other areas of Italy or even in other areas of Calabria, but in Scalea, real estate agencies seem to make up about every 3rd building. You're never lacking for options for vacation homes, primary homes, or based on the notes I took during the search process, homes filled with mold. So don't be afraid to ask around, walk into random offices, and chat with real estate agents about exactly what you're looking for. Most of the time, they're all too happy to load you up into their car and take you for a rapid-fire viewing of places you'll never find listed on the most popular real estate sites in Italy. So damn, after all that, am I finally going to show you what we bought? The answer is yes, but just know I don't like your tone. The property we're buying is the 36th of 36 total places we viewed, and in our case, viewed is a loose word, as our real estate agent didn't actually have the keys to our unit, so we viewed the one next door, which is a mirror image of the one we're buying. So we've technically been in our future neighbor's bedroom, but not our own. We purchased a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom condo on the 2nd and top floor of a very pink, gated condominium complex just outside of the main part of town. We are 200 meters from the beach, and about a 4-minute walk, score. Plus, there's a private outdoor shower for when we get back from the beach, an external storage closet. We have a terrace and a separate balcony that's accessible from both bedrooms. There's a full kitchen and a washing machine, and also a parking space for my future tricycle. The condo was built in 2005, which is about 20 years after almost every other property we looked at. And most importantly, we don't need to make any major renovations in order to move in and start living there. Since it's primarily been used as a summer vacation rental, it is partially furnished, but we will replace most of that furniture when we move in. We're about a 30-minute walk to the historical center of Scalea and the train station, and about a 5 to 10-minute walk to restaurants, bars, cafes, beach clubs, and the grocery store. The condo costs 70,000 euros plus all the various taxes and fees, which I will explain in much more detail once we actually complete that part of the process. And even though this property is at the very top of our budget, and I'm now living the once familiar life of a true broke-ass, at least I'm broke, without a mortgage, and with a home in Italy. Now, in a perfect world, we would have viewed our own property. Sure. Had it inspected by various property professionals. Absolutely. Spent more time in Scalea and Calabria in general. Word. And figured out how to live here long-term with the correct visa. No doubt. But sometimes you gotta take a risk. And when it's buying a property on the Italian coast, feels like a risk that doesn't suck. So come!
When you're invited!
Stay!
When it's furnished!
And for the love of God, don't say any cheesy crap.
Like living La Dolce Vita!
To me, us, or your real estate agent. Next time I'll do a more thorough breakdown of total costs, including ongoing and also one-time taxes, notary and agency fees, plus the start-to-finish legal process of actually owning a property in Italy as an American and non-resident. But for now, chin chin, chumps! Arrivederci, a-holes! Ciao ciao for now!